Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you guys how we school on the go, or really rather how we do our school while we're traveling. So I've shared before that we love to travel. We love to see all the things. One of my goals is for all my kids to have traveled to all of the 50 states. Kind of a lofty goal, but still, nonetheless, that's our goal. But when we travel, and even when we're traveling for 2 to 3 weeks during the school year, I don't pack up all of their textbooks. I don't pack up their worksheets and all of the traditional school things to take with us while we're traveling. Instead, we change things up. I grab a few different resources, and along with those resources and the experiences along the way, that becomes our school. Now, in order to do this, you obviously have to acknowledge that education and learning can happen outside of the four walls of a classroom, and that learning can take place beyond a worksheet and a textbook, right? And let me tell you, that is one of the biggest lessons that I have learned over our 6+ years journey of doing homeschooling. Our kids can learn anywhere and with anything. It does not have to be with a worksheet or a textbook. So today what I want to do is just share with you a couple of things that we use, or things that we do to aid in our learning while we're traveling. So one of the first things that I want to share with you is books. I will do a little bit of research before we go anywhere to find out about the area, things that are in that area, and then I do another search for children's books or books that we can read that relate to those different things that we're going to be seeing or experiencing. So I want to share with you just a couple of examples. I've shared with them before, but I just want to kind of point some out. So here's one. This is one of the books that I took with us when we traveled to Louisiana. And each of the states has their own book, and they go through an alphabet, but then are pointing out key things from the state. And we took this along with us, and we were reading it while we were traveling. And it is amazing that every time that we saw something, how it pointed and related to the book, the kids were like, oh wow, we saw that. That's what we just did. Like some of the examples in here, we saw a lot of the different things. We saw plenty of alligators. We took an airboat ride while we were in Louisiana, and we saw alligators. We actually went to this actual location, and we got beignets, which were super yummy. The kids loved that. We did see crawfish. Oh, sorry, you can't see that page. We did see crawfish. E is for egret, and what's funny is that this is from the McElhaney Island. I'm blanking on the name of the island, but he called this Bird City, and we actually went there. It's where they make Tabasco sauce. So we did a Tabasco sauce, or the Tabasco factory tour, and then on that same little island is where they had the Bird Island, and we saw that. Let's see. We saw the wreckage, or not want to say wreckage, but like all the torn down trees still that existed from the hurricanes. Let's see, we were down there right before they were having the Mardi Gras. I think we were down there early February, and so we actually did get a king cake, and it was delicious. But lots of these different things in here were fun because here's M is for Mardi Gras. Now, we weren't there for Mardi Gras, but we did see them prepping and getting everything ready for the parade and everything. Nutria, we did see one of these on our airboat tour. It was just a lot of fun. I'm not going to go through the whole book, but it was so interesting how a lot of those things tied together with the experiences that we had. And so it just really helped to commit it to memory. So we just traveled to Michigan over the summer, and so I think I shared this, but we did M is for Mitten, and it was the same thing. We did lots of things, saw a lot of the places that were in here, and the kids just found it really fascinating how we're able to tie our experiences together with things that are like in a book, like, oh wow, that's so awesome that it's also in the book, and we got to see it in person. Another one, because we were in Michigan, we went to Sleeping Bear Dunes, and so we were wanting to figure out, okay, well, why is it called Sleeping Bear? And it's based off an Indian legend. And so when we got back, we checked this book out and read about the legend of how it got the name the Sleeping Bear Dunes. Now, we are planning a trip to Colorado, so we have not gone yet, but I have already started pulling out some books. So we obviously have our Colorado alphabet book, which will be great to read while we go. We have Zebulon Pike, because we'll be traveling near Pikes Peak, so we'll be reading this one. We have a Celebrating Colorado, which is another one. It's got a lot of fun things in there that'll highlight some key points of Colorado. And then I have two books about America the Beautiful, and it's just the story behind our national hymn, because the lady who wrote it climbed to the top of Pikes Peak, and from there she was inspired to write our nation's hymn. So those are just some examples of books. So just a quick Google search and getting them from our library and preparing them. And we're going to take them with us when we go to Colorado, and we're going to read them while we're traveling on the way there, or maybe shortly after we either see or experience that thing. So it's a lot of fun to incorporate those books along with the things that we're seeing and doing. Another thing that I want to encourage you guys to do, if you're going to national parks or national sites, a lot of these places, I actually think most of them, have junior ranger programs. So at each of these places that we went, I just grabbed a couple of examples. You know, they look different, but they all have these junior ranger programs, and it really just engages you with a site. And I have to say, when we have done these, I feel like I walk away having learned more about the sites than I would have if I had just walked around and looked at things, because it's asking you questions, having you do little activities. All of them are age appropriate. You know, you don't have to do all of them. It'll say maybe choose 4 to 6 of them, and then you know, you can kind of pick and choose from the book, but it's really engaging you with a site. Sometimes it requires you to talk to a ranger and ask them a question. You have to go and look at different signs to answer them, look at the different things that they have maybe in the ranger building. But it's so cool because you learn a lot by just doing these activities with your kids. And I think our kids have learned a lot from doing them as well. And one note to point out is that if you don't have enough time to finish the Junior Ranger program while you're there, you can always mail it in, and they'll actually, so I grabbed those. So when you finish your Junior Ranger program and you take the pledge, they give you these really cool badges for being a junior park ranger. And this is my oldest. We got a little pennant like this to hang them up on so that he has a way to store them. Obviously, we're running out of room. But we have done a lot of these Junior Ranger programs, and once you finish them, they'll give you this badge. And if you don't finish, you can always send in your ticket, and then they will mail you your badge at a later date. So if you get there and you get the book and you don't finish it, you can mail it in, or you can go online and print these booklets out before you go and do a little bit of the work before you go if you know you're not going to have enough time on site to finish the complete book. So that's a cool option as well. But we do find that these are great educational, resources, that they're enriching our time at all of these different historical sites and national monuments and all the different places that we're visiting that are national park. Some other ways that we kind of get them to use some of their skills, that we would say are more school-like. My parents had gotten each of my kids small little journals that they can kind of write or draw different things that they're seeing while we're on our trips. So a lot of times they'll bring these journals with us. They'll grab a pen or a pencil and they'll draw what they see. They'll take notes or write about it. And so that's getting them to work on their writing and their letters, different things, drawing. And also they love to send postcards to their friends and their grandparents when we're traveling. So they don't even realize it, but they're writing and they're, making sense of what they want to say. They're using complete sentences. They're writing an address and learning how to fill out a proper address on a postcard. So all of those are great skills that maybe we wouldn't necessarily think, that's school, but it really is school. And so that's okay. You can count that. My kids also really love to watch on our GPS while we're traveling. They love to track our progress and know where we're going, how long we have to get there. So we're constantly pointing out, okay, we're in this state, and so what's the capital? And, talking about the different things that we're seeing. Did we cross over a river? Did we, what's that mountain range? What are those trees? We haven't seen those trees before. They're different. What about the wildlife that you see while you're driving and looking out the windows? So just the sheer process of driving and going from point A to point B, you can be working on different, geographical and terrain and river questions and getting them to use their skills of observation to note the changes and see what they're getting from just looking out the window. And obviously, anytime we can, we always take an opportunity to visit some historical or educational site. Just stopping and reading these different, the signs and listening to a ranger or a worker there give a little speech. A lot of times these places will have short videos that you can watch on the history of the location. Anytime you can, stop and listen or see or have a conversation with someone who can tell you about that site, that's educational too. It's like a mini field trip inside of your vacation. So those are just some ways that we like to incorporate our learning into our traveling. That way we don't feel pressured or forced to bring along the heavy textbooks and all the worksheets. That's one way of learning, but so is the way that I just described. Traveling, experiencing, seeing, and doing. That's another way of learning. We're just outside the four walls of a classroom. So if you guys like to travel, let me know how you guys incorporate learning into your journey. I would love to hear about it. And let me know if you have any questions. Until next time, guys, have a blessed day.